to Creative Writing with Ashleigh. This virtual enrichment is brought to you by Center for Success. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to make a blackout poem with alliteration. So this is a little example of a blackout poem. As you can see, the words are a little tiny, so I'm just going to read it. It says, "That tiny TV told her time is a constant." So you might be wondering, how can you make blackout poetry? So you make blackout poetry by using somebody else's work and then finding the words in it to create your own work. So you could use a magazine or a newspaper, or you could even use an old torn up book. So that is how you would make blackout poetry, or what blackout poetry is. So now let's figure out what alliteration is so that we can use it in our blackout poems. So alliteration is when a word starts with the same sound or letter and it's used repeatedly in a phrase, a sentence, or even a poem. So an example of alliteration could be, "Kim came to help us cut out a colorful kite for Chris." They're a little bit of a tongue twister, so they can actually be really fun. So the alliteration in that phrase is Kim came cut colorful kite. So that's all of the alliteration. As you can see, Kim and came, they don't start with the same letter, but they still start with the same sound. So it is alliteration. So now that we know what blackout poetry is and what alliteration is, let's start making our own. Alright, so the first step to making your blackout poem with alliteration is to figure out what piece of writing we're going to use. So I've decided on this magazine, and I've opened it up to a page that's filled with a lot of words. We're going to want a lot of words so that we have a lot of options to make our poem. So now that I have it opened, I'm going to skim it, and I'm not going to read very carefully. I'm just going to look for some phrases or some words that really stick out to me and that I want to use. So I like this phrase, "It's a never-ending journey." So now that we have one of our phrases, we can look for more if we want to. We want to make sure that we're using alliteration. So I can look at this thing and I can be like, I can use N if I wanted to. So I'm looking through here, and I also found music. And I really like music, so I decided that I was going to use that word as one of my keywords too. So now I'm knowing that my theme of my poem will be about music and how it is a never-ending journey. So now that I have that, I want to keep going through, and I'm going to underline the things that I think I'm going to use. So now I can make sure that I can use alliteration with the letter M, or I can use alliteration with the letter N. So I also found this phrase, "telling stories that mirror." I thought that was pretty cool. So now I'm gonna, now that I have a few of these underlined and everything, and I know what I think I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put them down on my notebook. So I want to do this in order. So the way I do this in order is I'm gonna go from top to bottom and left to right. So as you can see, music right here, which is underlined, will be my first one, and then "It's a Never-Ending Journey" would be my second one, and so on, because we want to make sure it's in order, because when we write our poem, we're not going to be able to go out of order because it's already printed onto this paper. So now I'm just writing down any words that I underlined so that I can figure out how I'm exactly going to use them in my poem. Alright, so now I have my list all created, and my list consists of music, "It's a never-ending journey," "telling stories that mirror," "nature," "navigating," "nervous," "newfound fame." So you can see that I'm really going with the alliteration with the letter N right there, but I also have some alliteration with M because I have music and mirror. So now I'm going to figure out how I'm going to make this a poem, because right now it's not really a poem. So I can say, "Music is a never-ending journey. that, no, music is a never-ending journey telling stories that mirror nature. So I'm saying that music tells stories about nature is what that's saying. Nature. Mm. I'm going to actually add a the. So music is a never-ending journey telling stories that mirror the nature. And I'm looking in here to make sure that I have those connecting words like the. I do have in between, it's a, no, in between, I'm sorry. In between telling stories that mirror and nature, I do have a the right there that I can use because we're going to want to look for connecting words too and not just big words. But we want to do that after we know what our big words are. So I have music is a never-ending journey telling nature, music is a never-ending journey telling stories that mirror the nature. So I can be done now if I want to, but I'm going to keep looking and I'm going to make sure that my poem is everything that I want it to be. Because I did have more letters picked out. So I think that will be the rest of my poem. I think that's a pretty good poem and it has a basic idea to it. You want to make sure that your poem, you can kind of, like, if maybe you'll have to explain it, but you want to make sure that it has a theme to it. So my theme is about music and about how I think that there's music all over nature. Alright, so now that I have this part done and I know which words I'm going to use, I want to go in and I'm going to take a black Sharpie and I'm going to box in any words that I'm going to be using in here. So I said I'm going to be using music. So that's the first word I'm going to box in. So now you can see that I'm done with this step and I have found my poem and I found the alliteration I'm going to use and now I've boxed it in. So I'm almost done. Now I have to just black all the other words out. Let's make sure that our poem is making sense so far. So music, a never-ending journey telling stories that mirror the nature. I think it's a pretty good poem so far. So now I'm just going to take my Sharpie, or you can use any type of crayons or anything else that you want to use. Actually, one second, I'm forgetting a step. Before we black everything in, this is an optional step. We're going to want to draw something on here that goes with our poem. So my poem is about nature. So I am going to draw a little tree before I black everything in because I want the tree to symbolize nature for me. Alright, and now I have my tree in there to symbolize nature. So now all I have to do is cover up all the rest of the words. I want to do this carefully so I don't accidentally get rid of any of my important words. Alright. So I'm done blacking out my blackout poem. And there you go. And that is how you create a blackout poem. And here we go. Let's read my poem and make sure it's got its alliteration. So, music, a never-ending journey, telling stories that mirror the nature. So, let's see. Where's my alliteration? So, music and mirror. Those are alliteration. They're a little far apart. And then we have never ending in nature. So those are my alliteration. I didn't repeat it a lot like I did with my other poem, but it's okay. So again, today we learned how to make a blackout poem with alliteration. Please comment below with your blackout poem and share your feedback about what you enjoyed and what you would like to see more of. Thank you for sharing your time with Center for Success. We are so grateful for this opportunity to be part of your life and to share this new form of community with you. Bye, and I'll see you guys next time.